Hey everybody, we're live.
We are live, and welcome everybody to day 15 of the 21-day healthy challenge. And today is Monday Mindset, and today we get the opportunity to interview Jeevan Noel, who is a triathlete. And let me tell you a little bit about Jeevan. He has completed his studies at Western Washington University. He is currently working full-time in the healthcare industry, and he's looking forward to continuing his studies this year in the health field. So we're going to ask Jeevan some questions here about what it's like to be a triathlete, and so we're trying to make it through 15 days. We're going to talk to a guy who's been a triathlete for some years now. And so, Jeevan, thank you for joining us and allowing us to interview you and agreeing to this. So what motivated you to be a triathlete?
So I ran in high school for a couple of years, and I swam for a couple of years as well, but I wasn't like a super stellar athlete. I was just barely like junior varsity. But then later in my life, when I was like in school, I kind of had this like anxiety kind of come out of nowhere when I was like 21, and I found really quickly that like the best way for me to deal with that was just physically grinding. At first it was like weightlifting, but then I got back into running, and so now I'm about to be 28. I was like about 21 at the time, so past like 7 years that transformed from like maybe doing weights in the morning or doing a run or maybe a swim to then like last summer it was like in the morning a 10-mile run every day, and then I would drive to the lake and do like a 40 to hour sometimes hour 20 swim, to then like biking somewhere from like 40 to 60 miles. And so from 21 to then it was always just adding on more miles, adding on more time, more intensity, but it's always just come out of that, like realizing on a physical level how much better you feel when you expend your energy physically. And it doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't even have to be triathlon training, but just doing anything physically is like your body's built-in response to stress. It's when you have cortisol or whatever, your adrenal glands, like it's priming you to move. Your ancestors used those hormones to move. And so when you move, it just gets in this positive feedback loop where I was just realizing like, God, I feel amazing. And it wasn't ever about like racing or like, I always figured that, kind of my time to shine as an athlete, I always thought like people had to be doing that with Tiger Woods since he was like 1. And so I always figured like, that's not me. I'm not into racing or anything like that. I just do it for the mental health. But then, yeah, I got into racing when I was like 26. So a number of years into it, I realized like, oh, you know what? Like I have the pieces and everything together to start competing in triathlons. So I did my first race when I was about 26, and I signed up just local triathlon. It was the Lake Whatcom Triathlon. I think I had done like a couple of running races like right before, but I remember that morning, I think I probably got up like a little early, drove over there. Didn't really have any expectations. I just wanted to, run, just enjoy it. And I ended up getting first in my age group, so like 25 to 29, and getting like 10th overall. And then got an email like shortly into that year that I had qualified for nationals. And this is like an event that like I was talking to people later and they're like, oh, like people train for years before they go to nationals. And I was just like, yeah, I did my first race and I qualified for it. So I realized like, okay, you know what, maybe there's a little bit of talent. Maybe just like, put the miles in and maybe I could go somewhere with that. And then going to that race, that was like 2018. So like 2 summers ago, all the races got canceled because of COVID. So I don't know where I'm in the rankings right now, but I finished, like about 28th in my age group, and ran my fastest time. I had my family there, which is just like, I mean, it was probably one of like the happiest moments of like last couple of years for me. and I ran my fastest time. It was like 50 miles for those of you that know pacing, and I was doing my bike at like 27 miles an hour. So I was thinking like, okay, these are kind of numbers that like I read a little bit into the professional results, and it's like maybe I'm getting towards that. And so ever since then, it's just been like I took maybe one day off when I was traveling, but I knew I was just like I want to get back into it, and I just want to because it's always just been about that. It's never been about like achieving a certain result. It's just like the day in day out feeling of like of pushing yourself and that feedback with of just like listening to your body when you have stress. Like movement is like just the best, like one of the best things to relieve that. Yeah.
That's amazing. So you really did. You had what it took to do this, and so give us a sense, or what makes you wake up every day and want to train? Like, give us a sense of the mindset it takes, or you put goals out there. What does it do? What does it take?
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for just momentum. Like when maybe there's something to get over in the beginning, like starting to go for a walk or whatever, but like when you do that and you do that enough times, like it almost feels weird when you don't. So now like I wake up in the morning, I'm like, if I was to say like, oh, I'm not going to work out today, that would feel harder for me than to say like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, because it's what I've done like every day, for the last like almost like 6 or 7 years. So yeah, I think there's something to be said for momentum. Like the more you do it, the easier it just becomes, and it's kind of like a snowball. And yeah, I think a little bit about like racing now and like what kind of my goals are. I have a race in May, and if I do well in that, then that would put me in the category of doing worlds. And it's like if I do well in that, then maybe there's a chance of like kind of going professional with this, which would be a dream. Like because it's just, I mean, it's just what I want to do every day. It gives me kind of my joy. Yeah.
So with the healthy habits, like to relate it to people like me, like probably more like everybody else in the group, but to get up in the morning and do 10 minutes of yoga is like a stretch. Like, I remember when I ran in high school, I ran long distance, and I remember when you just run so much, and then when you're actually walking with people and they walk slow, it drove me crazy. Like I always wanted to just run, you know? And so I get what you're saying is that there's that place where you do break that barrier of like, if you don't work out, it's more of a hindrance to your body than working out. I mean, you need to do that workout. So, but when you think about waking up and going into the
water temperature, Jeevan's been going swimming in the bay every day since he's been here. But the last few days, if you're in Western Washington, Bellingham, Bush Bay, you know that we've had snow. And we have 6 inches of snow, and he goes out there and swims. And that water temperature in the bay is 45 degrees.
45 degrees. And I can't get my butt on the carpet here and do yoga in the morning. So, the mindset, we just really want to know, like, what is that mindset?
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
Yeah. I mean, I would say the most important thing, just for me, health, exercise, life in general, is just like turning, I mean, there's so many distractions, especially in this day and age of technology, and just like your phone's always going off, there's something on the news or whatever. Taking that attention that's going outwards and doing your best to just like turn that inwards, like whether that's a mantra, something to just kind of keep your attention stabilized, or whether you're actually like, I mean, there's a ancient kind of tradition that's asking the question like, who am I? And looking within your consciousness, where am I? And then out of that, like when you're still just feeling your body, you can start with, your hand. Like I listen to this guy, Eckhart Tolle, he says like, start with your hand, then you start with the other hand. And if you like close your eyes, how do you know that you have a body? How do you know that you're alive in this moment? And there's no words to it. You don't have to say like, oh, I can, but you can feel it. You can feel life inside your body. You can feel every connection of every neuron in your body. If you just turn that attention inwards, you can actually feel, like right now, I can feel, you know, my heart's pumping blood through my arteries, my veins. There's, I mean, millions of cellular reactions going on. But we're not always like conscious of that because we're out there in the world. But I think the more we can just like turn inward and feel the body, and when we can regain that connection with the inner body, with like your essence that's within your body, little decisions like, oh, you know, what am I going to eat for lunch, like, or something like that. I think your body actually knows what you need. Your body knows that exercise is good for it, that a certain way of like eating is like good for it, drinking water, like all the basics. Like, I think that those decisions become a little bit easier the more in tune with like what your body is saying and just like listening. And so, yeah, I think it's just a lot of like going inward, either asking that question or attuning to your breath too can also help with that.
You know, I want to say something. Your dad told us something one time that sticks with me all the time.
Yeah.
And I think this is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And doing landmark education and stuff, your body's your temple, right? So honoring your body. But if you were to close your eyes and take a big, deep breath, and you really sit there and you think about the air going through to your lungs, and then all the air, oxygen going into your veins and circulating throughout your whole body. And if you visualize that happening, you really realize the miracle that your body is.
Yeah.
And how much of a miracle that you are, and that to honor your body with everything and anything that you can. Because every breath that we take is a gift, right? And so I hear that is what you're saying, to be able to prepare yourself when you're eating right and doing all that stuff, is you're honoring your temple. You're honoring the miracle that you are.
Yeah.
And that taking that next step is that future forward thinking of always having a goal in front of you. Like you have that goal for May to do the triathlon. So that has you have goals to always go for and have a mission or purpose with the miracle that you are.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. That connection.
Yeah.
That's really good insight, you guys. So Jeevan, tell us what a typical day is like for a triathlete. Like, you know, for example, like, do you have sleep tips or methods? Do you meditate? You know, what's your eating regimen every day? So kind of give us an insight what a typical day for a triathlete is.
Yeah, I would say like the best day, most ideal day would be like waking up like 5:30. If I'm working that day, I'd be driving to work. But if I don't, like, to get up, do maybe some stretching. I have this like massage gun, so occasionally using that to like just loosen up my muscles and try and get deeper into stretches. And then, it like the sooner I can get in the water, kind of the better. It's just like, and it just rejuvenates me, and then it kind of sets the whole day up right. I always try and eat my meals like within like 30 minutes of workout, because your body's just like a lot. I mean, I feel hungrier after a workout, and then I know that my body's like gonna digest it better and use it kind of more efficiently if it's within like 30 minutes of exercise. So then I'll have like breakfast after that, and I love coffee, so a shot of that, and then I'll generally go for like a 10-mile run, or like today is like 2.5 hours of biking, and then do the other third discipline in the evening. So either, again, 2 hours biking or.
So how do you work through that with your work schedule? Like, how do you make that work with because you work a full day?
Yeah.
So he works full days, you guys.
Yeah, just getting up early and doing it late at night, I guess. Like, just that's however you can fit it in.
And we can attest to that.
Yeah.
Like, we'll be like, oh my God, it's dark out. The rain is going sideways, and I know nobody can see him running alongside the road.
Yeah.
It's like his dad's going to call us up one day. Well, he did.
Yeah.
Jeevan's in the hospital. He got hit by a car on his bike.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of dangerous, buddy.
Yeah. So that's the other story. Yeah.
So I mean, just with that, that's like me telling you, you got to be safe. You know, don't do that at night, whatever. And so, how do you go past the everybody being negative with you?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's that same kind of meditative journey of like going within. Like my body's always gonna tell me what to do, like in a certain sense, and like maybe sometimes like I push it too hard. Maybe I should take it a little easier. But generally, like day to day, like I have a sense of like, okay, I need to work out. Like if I don't work out right now, I know I'm gonna like feel worse later. So it's just, yeah, it's like the motivation is always going to be from within. The best coach, in my opinion, is like that own sense of your own body, like listening to your own body, structuring everything around that. From like when you go to bed, waking up, what you eat. Like I think the like this, whatever it is that animates your body, like wherever the source of that is, like, and you can't point to it or anything, but like that process of like listening to it, like you're saying with the breath, like the more we can still the mind and listen to the body, the more my days just have this flow to them. Like it doesn't feel like anything really takes any effort. But that's always going to come from within. Like no coach or any like nutritionist or anything like that is really gonna know ultimately like what is gonna be best for me. But it's almost like we all have this incredible. I mean, I just got this watch that just tracks all my stats and stuff, and like this is super helpful. But it's almost like we have something even better, which is this intrinsic coach that is like when you can still the mind and go within, like you already know what you need to do or what you can do to make yourself kind of feel better. Because again, it all comes back to like mental health for me. So yeah, I think that motivation is always going to come from within, and the guidance is always going to come from within as well. But yeah, I got hit by a car like in September, and that was like a challenge. I have this like scar. I can't actually pull my sleeve up. Is it tight? But I think I maybe took like a couple of days off for that. But even something like that, where it was like I also have this scar right here, and I blacked out. Basically, yeah, I got hit by somebody who's probably under the influence when I was on my bike, and I ended up in the ER. And I got like brain scans and all that type of thing. I took a couple of days off after that. But even something like that, like I remember like swimming for the first time, because then I went to Texas to be with my mom. And I remember just feeling so good to be swimming again, and like getting through the psychological hurdles of like biking again, and knowing that it's like, okay, if I get hit again, could be very, it can be life threatening. It was like scary at first, but then I went on like another ride, and it was just like pretty much just the same. Like,
so probably getting back on the bike faster. Get back up on the bike. Say, what is the analogy when they say get back on the bike? It's you fall over, get back up.
Yep, get back up. Conquer that fear really quickly.
Yeah, the more you think about it, then the longer it's going to take to get back. You could let those fears really drive you, right?
Yeah.
And so just moving, you just like didn't even let that fear enter your mind.
No.
You just let it. You knew your body needed the rest and the care.
Yeah.
But then you didn't let the fear move in.
Yeah. Because the fear like motivates me. It's like when I feel that fear, I know I need to go for a run. That's that feedback loop that has always motivated me. Like
it sounds like to me, I'm sorry, Larry, he's got this whole schedule that I'm really into this. It sounds like to me you wrote your own book. Like, I've heard people when they say, oh, I've got this excuse, I can't do that, I can't do this because of this, I can't do that. But you said, no, I'm going to take all these excuses, put them over here, and I'm going to write a new chapter. I'm writing a new life for me, and those excuses aren't part of the story.
No.
Like you are going through and making a whole new mantra for yourself.
Yeah.
And that could be, like I heard you say, you're like a rubber band. You want to see how far you can stretch, right? And to make that work.
Yeah.
So that's pretty incredible. So you were talking, Larry asked you about the food. Like, what is your daily food? Like, what do you normally eat? We'll get back to your question.
Well, yeah, I was talking, about what a typical day is for a triathlete, and he kind of told us a little bit about some sleep habits and tricks that he has, and how he likes to eat when he gets out of the water or off the bike and something like that, and how his body consumes the calories more efficiently. and stuff like that. But what I'm more amazed at is just like he said, he builds that momentum with his training, and in that he stays with that commitment and that drive. And I was, and I wanted to ask Jeevan, when you have those challenging days, what's the mindset that keeps you committed and driven?
Yeah, I really think it just all comes back to like listening to the body. Like, and if I'm really feeling beat down, I might, cut the run short or cut a bike short, and I'll just, take the rest that I need. But,
Well, I mean, let's relate it to the people who are listening to us. Like,
Yeah.
talking about the 10-minute yoga thing, not the
Yeah.
3-hour bike ride,
Sure,
or,
yeah.
the 40-minute swim out in the 45-degree weather.
yeah,
So we were to relate it to people, like when you're really listening to your body. So I can see that. So I hear people when I talk about, let's do yoga. We used to do yoga at the shop for an hour,
Yeah.
when we had the shop on Fridays. And like, you'd call me, oh, I can't today because blah, 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 or I can't today because of the, and I think that sometimes we let those excuses get us off the hook. It's almost like there's this other person in our brain saying, no, you don't need to do that. Go get that chocolate bar, And so when you're listening to your breath versus the chocolate bar conversation or the no, like how do you just kick that other one out of your brain? Like, I really, because that's where I think most of us struggle with, because you're pretty remarkable when it comes to
the discipline.
The discipline. And I don't think, we're trying to build habits here.
Right.
Yeah. So what would you say to most of us, me, because Laurie's pretty disciplined too, but what would you say to most of us about how to get into that habit to listen to our heart and to listen to our breath?
Yeah.
And what would you suggest on a habit for a daily basis?
Yeah, I think it's a great question to start with. Just like, who am I? Am I the story that I, and this is like getting back to Landmark, like, am I, they call them like rackets and strong suits, but everybody knows about like trauma or, everybody's got this story always going on in our head telling us who we are, based off of what happened 10 years from, today or sorry, 10 years in the past or something, like some trauma that happened, whatever it is. Like, your mind's always doing that. But starting with that question of who am I, like, and like being okay with like, okay, so my mind's gonna tell me all these answers. Like, if I say who am I, think about all these different like woe is me kind of stories about like, growing up in the way I did and like being a person of color, whatever narrative there is, there's plenty of, like, everybody's got something like that. We've all got a narrative, a story about ourselves that the mind is like constantly telling. But if you start with that question, for me has been like really helpful, because it's like, if I look, do I see the narrative? Okay, yeah, that's there. But then it's gone. Like, I'm not always in that story. And if you observe the story long enough, you notice that it's not you. Like, if you start with that question, you'll notice a thought come up about who you are. But if you notice that, then you realize that it actually goes away. And then another thought might come, but that will also go away. Or a feeling will come up with a thought, like a feeling in your body. But if you stay with it, you notice it, it goes away. No thought is permanent. No emotion is permanent. They're all transient. And so the more you stay with that question, just keep coming back to who am I, you come to a depth that is ultimately like, I don't, like, words can't describe that experience of I am, like, and those are the words that I love to use. And like, coming from kind of a religious background, like the word God in Hebrew is Yahweh, which is translated to I am, to just being. And if you stay with that question long enough, all the freaking BS, whatever story that you have always going on in your head, it just goes away eventually. Like, anything that is transient is not you. If it wasn't true about you, I mean, everybody was at one point this vibrant, alive kid that just had no fears about anything. My dad would always talk about, like, I would play soccer, and but this isn't just me. Like, everybody had this experience of just being unbreakable, unstoppable. Like, the narratives weren't built yet. And so if it was true about you when you were 7 years old, it's true about you now. Like there's nothing, the only thing that's separating is when you're 12 or 10 or whatever, something happened, and then suddenly the world becomes smaller and you become this fixed idea. And it's not even you, it's just an idea that you've latched onto. But taking the time to just kind of silently ask that question in my head, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Comes to that experience of just being here now in my body. And I worked in hospice last summer, and I remember every time I saw somebody who just passed, that feeling of just being alive was like so palpable and strong, because I knew that one day my body is going to be on that bed, or maybe not that bed, but somewhere my body is going to be, and the essence that was me, the life that is like coursing through my veins, is going to go somewhere else. So am I just this like fixed thing that's in this body, or am I this like dynamic movement that is life? And for whatever reason, when I felt that, like, because we're talking about like being within your body, it's not about like the external form of like me as a person, but it's like whatever animates me. And that's the thing that you get to with that question of just like the experience of being in your body. Like a lot of people like to exercise to like lose weight, or any number of reasons, and all those reasons are great. I'm not discrediting that, but I think the best reason to get into exercise is to feel yourself, to feel the aliveness within you, and to know that like that feeling that was there when you were 7 years old and you knew it and you were unstoppable is always going to be there. And it's just like sitting with that question long enough to watch the stories go away.
Well, it's almost like we're all our own energy.
Yeah.
Right. And so finding that energy and putting fire to it again, like writing that new chapter. So like you were talking about the old stories, like we have those stories because, you run out on the street and your parents go, no, don't do that. And, or get off the, top of the chair or whatever. And you're yelled at for your safety, your own good. But then we make that mean something. And then that puts us in a smaller box as we get older. And then pretty soon our box is so small, we can't even do yoga for 10 minutes. Right. And so being able to open that box up and to be able to live that breath and to write the new chapter for who you are in the world and what you can create. And so when you're doing that, you're experiencing that as you're running or as you're doing your bike riding, you're experiencing that breath or the newness of you, of what you're creating and what you're supposed to be, like what you feel your true essence is, right? And so I think that a lot of us get stuck in knowing how to turn the page in the book, like, and all it is just turn the page, and start meditating on. And I noticed that when I've been trying to meditate over the last, doing the miracle mornings. We talked about that earlier. And we were listening to a podcast and the person goes, I meditate every morning and I get my most downloads in my brain in the morning after I do that. I'm like, I used to have a little sheet of paper next to me because after I'm done meditating, I'm like, oh yeah, don't forget to do this, don't forget to do that. And all this stuff going on. I'm like, wow, when I don't do that, my day is just lethargic. It's like I can't seem to get into motion. I can't seem to get going on. And so I think that actually giving your body a chance to speak to you, because we don't listen to it. So if we can actually listen and let it speak to us, then we're moving forward, I think. So
I think that's a very good point. And it is like, like we're talking about, it's Mindset Monday. And it is like kind of the practice of gaining that momentum and keep going and and I remember years ago when I hadn't exercised for years and I needed to, and for a lot of reasons, for health reasons and stuff like that, I went and joined a place and got a trainer, and I was working out with a couple other people, and he was training us, and I was at like the second or third workout, and I was going like, I don't think I can do this. I really physically don't think I can do this. And he told me one thing. He's going, Larry, don't quit. Come back tomorrow. Just come back tomorrow. Because I guarantee you'll get fitness. He goes, but don't stop. just keep trying to push through and keep trying to, just go carry on as much as you can. And little by little it did, and it took a couple of weeks or a few weeks, and all of a sudden you go like, wow, I really am getting fitness. I'm getting more fit.
Yeah.
And it was that momentum and that kind of creating that drive.
Yeah.
That really is about,
Tell the story about the swimmer. The
the gal who was, and I forget the whole story. I couldn't recreate it, but her mantra was, when she swam, she was like, she was terrible, and her grandmother was the one who encouraged her to keep showing up, and her mantra was, quitters never win, or yeah, quitters never win, winners never quit. And she always came in last place. And one time she found herself in this race, and she was with all these accomplished swimmers, and she just kept saying that to herself over and over when she was swimming, and she was expecting to come in last place. And when she looked up, she didn't see anybody else, and people were clapping, and she had won this race, which was truly inspiring when she told this story.
But that is so true.
Yeah,
winners never quit. Winners never quit.
Yeah, quitters
never win.
Yeah.
It's so simple, but and so profound at the same time. I mean, it's like you could quit on yourself every day.
Yeah.
And so, what do you feel like? Like if you quit today,
Yeah.
how would that make you feel tomorrow?
I would just feel miserable. I just feel like I need to run.
Yeah, you would feel miserable. And think about every day when I don't do my 10-minute yoga, that little bit of miserable keeps piling up, right? We keep piling on all the miserable. Oh, I'm not good enough. I can never do that. And we believe that. Yeah. We start to believe that mindset instead of the who I am, like I am mindset, to being able to create infinite possibility, right? And so having that, when we quit on ourselves, that's just and then we take it and say, oh, see, I told you I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And that is just the epitome of listening to the committee. Your dad calls it the itty bitty shitty committee. And, are you going to allow that committee, the itty bitty shitty committee, to run your life? Or are you going to be you, who I am? Yeah. I am possibility. Yeah, I just think that's really incredible.
That's
okay,
awesome.
So what other questions?
So I have one last question for Jeevan, and I know I wanted to let everybody know Jeevan is currently training for a triathlon in Florida in May. So we can all get related to Jeevan and be on Team Jeevan, even though we might not be able to travel to Florida and cheer him on, but we can be there in heart and spirit. But Jeevan, what's the ultimate goal for you?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to see how far I can go. The goal, of just training was, I read somewhere that the 2-time Olympic gold medalist would train that kind of mileage of 70 miles a week of running, somewhere of 12 to 15 miles of swimming, and then 380 to 420 miles of. And then I found out this last summer that's okay, I can do that. And granted, I can't probably do it as fast as he did it, or else I'd, probably already be a professional. But I found out that my body could sustain it. I wasn't, towards the end, maybe I was getting a little bit psychologically worn out, but my body was fine. A week into it, I realized I'm not going to get injured. I'm going to be okay. So then it's just my goal is to just take it as far as I can. If I, it'd be amazing if I could go to this race and just crush it. But even if I can't, I know I'm going to keep grinding. I know that's kind of the bar that I have for myself is doing those miles. So every week that I don't do that, I'm I know I'm kind of letting, and I'm trying not to because I get in that kind of perfectionist mindset and feel bad about it, and I'm learning to kind of let that go and just listen to my body. It's if I'm not going to run 70 miles that week, then I'm just going to listen to my body and trust it. But that's kind of the standard that I have for myself. So every week that I don't do that, I'm I could have run. I think I'm at 40. I'll probably be at 45 today, and I'll be I could have run an extra 25 miles. It wouldn't have been that hard. And maybe, and so,
That's awesome.
Yeah. it's just doing that. It's doing that every week, and it's doing that every day. Like, and to be kind of open to like where opportunities present themselves. If this is going to be something that I can like compete on the world stage, like that would be my goal. But ultimately, it's just kind of to get back to that bar that I kind of set for myself, and to continue to push that, and then push the intensity to do it faster, which I've already kind of seen a lot of gains in. Because yeah, I love doing it. It's so important in life to just be happy. I mean, that's kind of like one of the most important things, if not the most important thing in life. And I know that this is the thing that I've kind of found that like really like 99 times out of 100 or 999 times out of 1,000, like I'm gonna have a good experience. I'm gonna feel good, even if I run myself ragged. Like I know I'm gonna feel better for it after. And so yeah, it's just to push my body every day, and to kind of like, and to yeah, and then to just be open, like to see where the results come. Like I sometimes get down on myself, and I think like, oh, I should already be like winning this race, or should be like with the best of them, because I feel like I have that potential, and I start to feel down on myself. But it's like the work. I mean, you can't. It's in some sense, I believe it's impossible to like put in the work and not see some sort of like flowering from it. And maybe it takes time. There's this guy I was listening to who's like Francis Ngannou, who's like one of the top heavyweight fighters, and he came from like Africa, and this huge immigration story. And he said that it's like it might not, success in whatever terms might not happen when you want it, but if you believe in it and if you put work into it, it's just like there's gonna be fruit. Like the Bible of like sowing what you reap. Like eventually these miles. I mean, and I already see that it's bearing fruit because I'm running faster than I ever have. I'm swimming faster. I'm biking faster, and I think that's just going to continue to happen as long as I like keep putting in the work.
It sounds like what you're saying is like the law of the harvest will always provide.
Yeah.
And when you're going through and doing the day in and day out grind, like the grind, right? Yeah. And some days you just come back really sore or something like that. So it sounds like you don't, but for us, we would. And being able to just know that the travel, going through and doing the journey, and having expectations every step of the way actually will be disappointment.
Yeah.
And to be you, I am, throughout that journey and experience it fully, all the good and all the bad as wonder, and as the law of the harvest and planting and watering the seeds. Because when you get to the end of the journey or to the finish line, that all the side aches and all the leg cramps and all the, whatever's, the car being hit and you, whatever, all those troubles and trials and tribulations that you have, makes that journey all the more rewarding, right? Yeah. And so when you feel pain, when you're doing that 10-minute yoga, when you are listening to the itty bitty shitty committee in your head in the morning before you get out of bed, knowing that you should get up 15 minutes early to do that extra exercise, that little grump, that little complaint is the joy of actually getting to the exercise, because then when you complete that, you'll have much more reward, a satisfaction of completing that for that day. Yeah. And that's what I think, is being able to listen to and honoring, listen to that itty bitty shitty committee. Aren't you guys fun? Okay, but I'm going to ignore you, and I'm going to be I am, and go for it and honor my body today. Because it sounds like what you're saying. But does anybody have any questions? It looks like we have a few people on the chat there.
Yeah, if you have questions, drop them in the comments. We can ask them to Jeevan. Otherwise, I really want to thank Jeevan for agreeing to come on and be on our healthy on day 15 healthy challenge here in Mindset Monday, and really what it takes to be a triathlete, what it's the mindset of being a triathlete. We don't expect anybody to feel bad for not going out there and swimming 2.5 miles, biking 110, and then running a marathon all right in a row. Okay, so we're not saying that. but it is incredible to talk to somebody.
See if you got some questions, Larry.
Oh, we do have a question. Thank you for your encouragement. I can't read the other one.
Yeah.
The light's too bright.
Yeah. So we have thank you everybody for joining
Yeah,
us today. It
whoever's
was so
online,
fun. And I have some fun things for tomorrow. I can't remember exactly right now because I got distracted, but thank you so much, Jeevan. And we're just you talk about how we inspire you, you inspire us. And so every morning we try to get up early and try to get on with our day but to watch you out my window running in shorts with 6 inches of snow is much more inspiring, and I think that's incredible. So thank you for who you are for us, and it's just a delight to know who you are. So thank you for being part of our life.
Yeah,
I would be able to swim in the bay if it wasn't in the backyard.
Oh, that's great. Okay, everybody.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.
Take care.
Take care.